Hello and welcome to Kim's Cozy Corner. We are going to do a end of September garden tour, and we're going to just harvest while we go along the way. It's September 30th, the last day of September, and the garden is changing so fast. So I figured today I will just take you around the whole garden so you can see how everything's doing. You're going to see things dying back, and you're going to see where things are starting to take off in the fall garden. And I figured I'll just harvest at the same time. So let's start with our little orchard area, and let me just show you how things are doing. In this space here, my blackberries have pretty much called it quits for the season. I have some nice, beautiful leaves, and there's a couple flowers on my blackberries, but for the most part, they are done, and we have enjoyed blackberries, just fresh eating blackberries, not enough to put up, but enough to keep me from buying it in the store. So these are my blackberries, nice and full. And at the end of the season, of course, we're going to cut these back. So we'll have new canes for next year. Just below the blackberries in this space here, I have some of my Napa cabbage. I planted this Napa cabbage, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. They have taken off nicely. I have some in both pots here, and these are Hilton Napa cabbages right here. And beside that are my strawberries, which has tons and tons of runners on them. And I need to clean these up, honestly. So I need to start cutting the runners back and give it a nice feeding for the end of the season so that they can come back next year nice and healthy. Just to the side of the strawberries, I do have a sugar baby watermelon, one little baby one. Hopefully I don't mess it up. I've never had a watermelon make it, and I have one sugar baby here. It's not ready, but I'm hoping this next week of 80-degree temperatures will keep it growing to the point where I can harvest it and have my first watermelon. These are also strawberries that need, in my mind, a good feeding, and pulling off all the dead leaves, prepping this bed basically to put it to bed so we can have strawberries next year. So these strawberries to the right of me here, these are second-year strawberries, and these were first-year strawberries. So next year I should get an even bigger harvest. I also planted a blueberry bush with my strawberries, and blueberries need more acidic soil, and the strawberries can handle a more acidic soil, and so they are complementing each other very well. And so this was the first year on this bush, and hopefully next year we'll have blueberries. I also have, you probably can't see it, but in the ground here there's one blueberry bush that I planted last year, and honestly I had counted it out. I said it was dead. But this year, the roots are nice and thick. They're nice and green, so maybe next year we can get some blueberries on that one too. Right here in front of me is one of the two zucchini plants that I have left. And I almost waited too long on this one. But here's a zucchini we will enjoy this week. And this plant right next to it, trying to grow up my apple tree here, is a white scallop squash. And there's quite a few on here. There's like 2, 4, there's 6, but they're baby zucchini, so they're not ready to harvest. The zucchini plant's not looking, or the squash plant's not looking so good. Don't know if they're going to make it, but we're going to keep them here and hopefully we'll get something out of it. Just back there, I have 2 potato containers, and I harvested all of my potatoes a few weeks ago. That was my second round of potatoes, and they didn't do very well. My first round did amazing. I easily have a year's supply off of the first 30 containers that I harvested, but this second round of potatoes, just enough for fresh eating, that's it, not enough to put up. But these two had too much green left on it for me to call it quits on those two. A week ago, I moved this whole area because we were chasing the sun. And so I moved these peas. So these are zipper cream peas. It's a drying type pea, over to where it can get more sunlight, because as the season progresses and as we get closer to fall, this area becomes very shaded. So I'm pushing it up to get more sunlight for these plants. Right next to it, I have some okra, and I don't think it's going to make it. The plants are healthy, but I don't think we have enough warm days to get any okra off of it. We're going to let it keep going. And if we get okra, great for my mother. And if we don't, oh well, because I don't eat it. I'm just going to keep walking around the garden here, kind of show you what's going on. So this is my strawberry tower. And last year, I didn't put it to bed properly, and I probably lost about half of the plants. So this year, I'm going to do a better job putting it to bed. I'm going to get the dried leaves off. I'm going to take care of the runners. I'm going to give it a nice feeding, and I'm going to try to make sure it doesn't dry out too much during the winter months, because it is in a tower. It is in a vertical planter. So if we don't get much rain in the winter, these pockets will dry out, and I don't want them to dry out to the point where I kill off versus hibernate my strawberries. This is a bed of medium heat peppers, and I have a few green peppers left on these plants. I picked them pretty heavily a few weeks ago, and it cooled off quite a bit over the last week, but we have another 80-degree week, so I'm hoping I can get quite a bit of not germination, but size to the jalapenos and the ancho chilies and what else is down there? The poblanos. So hopefully we can get these peppers to keep moving. In the very front here, this is all cilantro. I have the whole front of the bed in cilantro, and I need to get it harvested and dried sometime in the next few weeks. But cilantro actually likes the cooler weather. So hopefully we can get through this 80-degree week, and then the cilantro will continue to thrive in the upcoming weeks. So I have a little time to get that picked and harvested. In the front and center of my garden here, these are all strawberries in the very front in my fire rings here. And so you can see I have quite a few strawberries to pick from this year. And we actually got enough strawberries to freeze as well as enjoy fresh eating. And this time of the year, I'm still getting one or two here or there, but pretty much the strawberries are done. Behind the strawberries here, that's my grape plant back there. And I did have one grape plant that produced this year. It was planted last year, and so this year it actually bared fruit. We enjoyed grapes for a little while, and then some animal came in and stripped the last few off of it. But no loss, we enjoyed more than what we lost. In this bed in the very front, this is all broccoli. I believe it's all blue ribbon broccoli in the very front here. I planted this blue ribbon broccoli either 1 week ago, it might have been a week and a half ago. I've lost count, but it's healthy, it's growing, it's doing amazing. And this broccoli only gets a little more than a foot tall, so I believe we're right on track of where we need to be with the broccoli. Broccoli is a cool weather crop, so it can take a light frost. Actually, it can take a decent frost, as long as it doesn't go into a deep freeze for a long period of time. So broccoli is exactly what we need to be planting in the garden on the last day of September. Behind the broccoli here, I have some tomatoes. These are all, and believe it or not, they are still producing, but these are all Roma style tomatoes behind me. So sauce tomatoes. And so we're going to go ahead and pick these that are red. Anything that's blushing, we're going to go ahead and pick. These are, yeah, what are these? I picked them and I didn't check. I believe they're pink ox hearts. So tomatoes are still coming in. Okay, this is an Italian heirloom right here. It's also a paste style tomato. And in this bed here, I have a ton of great things going on. This is my beefsteak tomato bed, and this is a delicious, completely red, looks amazing. I have some that don't look so amazing either, so let me be clear. There's some ugly ones in there too. I believe this is either a watermelon or a giant crimson. Another giant crimson here. This one's only slightly blushing, but we're going to take it anyway. What is this? This is a watermelon. Another watermelon. Again, these all supposed to be beefsteak type tomatoes. This is a steak sandwich. And it's got some splitting on the top. And it's just now blushing. It will fully ripen once I get it inside. Tomatoes ripen from the inside out. Once it starts blushing, you already have your tomato taste. And so you can let it turn red, get nice and soft. The skin will thin out a little bit more on it, but the tomato taste should already be there. I have a few more blushing, but since the weather is going to be so nice, I'm going to leave them just a little longer. Oh, man, here's a big, big one. Been waiting a few weeks on this one. Okay, now what is it though? A bodacious. This is a bodacious, and somebody's been trying to eat it. Dag nabbit, those squirrels. Anyway, bodacious. We'll cut that off. We'll still enjoy it. Bodacious. And there's more blushing. I mean, you can't tell how many are in here, but there are multiple dozens of nice sized tomatoes, like the size of softballs almost, and they're all blushing. And then I have quite a few the size of baseballs in here. So with this warm weather coming, I'm hoping they will hold on. You can see there is some disease in here, but then there's some also beautiful green leaves up above. Let's cross our fingers and let's try to get some more. Just down here, I have my second round of carrots going, and they actually look really, really good. I'm hoping that they will continue to look healthy like this all the way up to and past our first frost. Carrots actually are much sweeter once they've had a light frost on them. And just behind the carrots are my zipper cream peas. Now I have some of these already starting, that's not good. I broke that one off. Some of the peas are already starting to dry out, where I have some of the peas that are just really putting them on really strong. And this upcoming week, I believe it will continue to improve these plants. Now, some of these peas are trying to grow up the tomatoes. And if you've ever heard of the three sisters, where you have like corn and like sunflowers and some type of bean climbing up them, we'll call this the two sisters. We have some peas and we have tomatoes. I have more peas in this space here, but I know I can't get through there. I call that little area the jungle, but they are in the same condition as the peas in the other bed. Some of them are drying and some of them are just putting on. So hopefully we'll be able to get some peas. This bed is a complete hot mess. The bees are happy over here. I have a little bit of everything growing on top of each other. I have some grape tomatoes here. Most of them actually are split open, which that's not good. The ones that are split open, I'm just throwing them on the ground. You can see I don't even have them properly trellised, but look at all those tomatoes. And they're not even properly trellised. Let's see if we can stand them up a little bit. Give them a little bit of support there. with my mighty crop trellising here. That's what these little black discs are. They're mighty crops. And these mighty crops are holding up my cantaloupes right now. So I have cantaloupes in here. I have about 3 that are almost ready to harvest. In the front here, these are more peas. And honestly, I don't think these peas are going to make anything. Oh, I take it back. There are little pea pods on there. Okay, we might get some peas off of these. So I believe these are purple hull peas in this space here. But whether it's a purple hull pea or a cream zipper pea, I just mix them all together and they give you this thick gravy when you cook them. They are quite delicious. Okay, Mr. B, you can have your flour. I'm done. I won't mess with you. In this bed here, I have more broccoli. Broccoli is probably, between broccoli and cauliflower, those are probably the 2 vegetables that I can't seem to get a year's supply. I just never plant enough of them because we eat them faster than I can process them to put up for storage. So I planted quite a few of these broccoli plants. I probably planted more this time than I did in the spring so I can get a larger harvest, but they are doing great. There are 2 different kinds of broccoli in here. I have the let's see how we say it, Delcico, Decicco broccoli. They get quite tall. I actually had some like 5 feet tall earlier this year. And then I think there's a few blue ribbon in here, which is a short stature broccoli. And I have some premium crop broccoli in here. So 3 different kinds, and hopefully we'll get plenty of broccoli, even if it's not a year's supply, just so I don't have to buy it. Like if I don't have to buy broccoli because I got other vegetables, that's okay too. As close to a year's supply as possible is what I'm going for. And now I need to pick okra. This is Clemson spineless okra for my mother. And I tell you, every week I'm picking a larger and a larger harvest for her, so she's quite happy. She gets to have at least 1 meal a week of her slimy okra. But she likes it, so I make sure that I have it for her. So here's a small handful of her okra, but I have a few more in some of these other beds. I just want to make sure that she's getting enough okra to the point where she doesn't want to buy it. That's all I'm going for. Just enough to appease her to keep her from buying any vegetables from the grocery store. And there's a few more that'll be coming on these in the next week, especially with these 80-degree days coming. Okay, let's pick these little cherry grape tomatoes. So tons and tons of these. You can tell the weather's changing because some of these have split. So when it's warm, your sun gold tomatoes will split every time. So let's try to get these off. We had some heavy rain for the first time a few days ago, and then it rained for a couple of days, which I think is causing some of the splitting that I'm seeing on these smaller tomatoes. If they're split, I'm just throwing them down. They'll come back next year. They always do. Okay, these are Grandpa's Minnesota, which they had stopped producing for a while and now they're producing again. So I'll definitely show you those in just a moment. Okay, Grandpa's Minnesota is just a nice round cherry tomato. It's bigger than your grape tomatoes. Nothing to write home about. It's a good tomato, tastes fine, but nothing exciting. And then I have what I call, or they're actually called champagne bubbles. They're a yellowish color, and actually they're really good. They're nice and sweet. Black cherries, which I was talking about earlier. And that's pretty much what I have in my shirt. In this bed here, I have in the back here, those are eggplants. And they're actually putting eggplants on. I have a bloom here. I have a little eggplant there. I'm not a big eggplant eater, so I'm okay that I'm only getting one here, one there, so we can enjoy it. And these plants in the front here, this is all kohlrabi. And I think it's growing okay. It looks good. A little bit of bug damage, but not too bad. So just a few more tomatoes over here. In that bed back there, that's rhubarb. Not doing anything with that until next year. But I have some okra back here. More okra for mom. In the very, very back, that's lettuce and radishes that have gone to seed. I'm going to clean that bed out back there, and that bed will be my garlic bed, which I need to start getting into the ground. So hopefully we can take care of that sometime in the next month. In this bed, I have, what is this, a rainbow? Let me see. Nope, this is a pineapple. And with all of that rain, I got that splitting again and a whole bunch of cracking on top. But this is a pineapple tomato. And this plant's pretty much done. I mean, I got some blooms, but I'm not really expecting it to do much of anything this late in the season. I have more carrots right here. These didn't germinate very well because my cabbage was actually leaning over them and shading them out. And so I've picked the cabbage up here, and now a few of these carrots are trying to take off, but we'll see what happens. I replanted or transplanted 5 new cabbage heads into this bed. I still have some older cabbage in the back here that I never harvested. Some of them are holding on and some of them don't look so great. Over here are my green beans. And I said I wasn't going to pick any more green beans this year because I have probably a 2-year supply. But a friend of mine came by and said, hey, I'll take some green beans. So we harvested green beans last week, and I believe it flushed twice as heavy this week. So I believe I'm going to see my friend again in a few days. And so instead of letting these go to seed, or should I say, instead of letting them dry out, I'm going to go ahead and pick them and give them to my friend so that she can enjoy them. I honestly don't need beans dried out. I have so many beans that I can use to start the season next year. I really don't need to dry beans out, but I just didn't want them going to waste, and I knew that was one way we would be able to use them. But it's even better if someone can cook them and it brings them joy and their family joy. And the more you pick your green beans, the more your green beans will grow. So, and I see a whole bunch of little baby ones on here. With the warmer weather coming, they will absolutely kick into high gear again and continue to grow. Pole beans typically will last all year. They're usually a little later to put on beans, but man, once they start, look at all these beans. They don't stop. Nothing stops the beans. Now, being as late in the season as we are, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not being extra careful with the vines, just because if I tear them off the vine, it's okay. I have plenty of beans, and I can always give her some of the canned beans if there's not enough for her to have a meal. Man, there's so many beans. Look at that. I could also, if my friend doesn't want these beans, I can also freeze them and take them to my brother. So brother, if you hear me, I'm talking about bringing you some beans. Now my brother lives about an hour and a half from me, but he loves some good old Southern home cooking, and he loves a good homemade meal. Man, they just keep coming. Every time I think I'm done, I find another bunch of them. Okay, I'm still picking. This is a Brandy Wise, and it is cracked all open, but it is a Brandy Wise. This is a watermelon, and there's 3 of them here. They're all blushing, so I'm going to pick all 3. And the one thing that is done are all of my cucumbers. I have no more cucumbers in the garden anywhere other than some dried up stuff that I can't use. So the cucumber season is over, but the tomato season just won't give up, and I'm not mad about that. All right, I am over at the neighbors, and I am picking tomatoes off of this sucker. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know what it is, but this one definitely has damage to it. I still have blooms on tomato plants. I mean, they look pretty good. And there are tons of pepper plants in here for my neighbor to enjoy. Tomato plants are still doing well throughout the garden. Man, I'm really excited about tomato plants in this space. All right, I do have some black cherry tomatoes over here. I won't pick all of them. I'll make sure he has some. The plant's falling over, and they're splitting open from that rain that we got. If we look over here, this is a perfect tomato. The plant's done. It's a pineapple, but that's a perfect tomato there. These are big mamas. They're not ready yet. They're starting to blush. And that's a spider web. Ugh. This is a squash plant here. Believe it or not, there is a new squash on that plant, and it's trying to take off here at the end of September. Another tomato. And you can see this tomato plant's not done either. I mean, there is like no disease on this plant whatsoever. None. This is a wild spud leaf dwarf tomato plant. It's putting blooms on. The one behind it's putting blooms on. It has tomatoes on it. Just doesn't want to quit. Whew. I'm tired, y'all. Ugh. Here is my basket. Here is my basket of goodies. Look at that. Look at all of those tomatoes of all different shapes and colors and sizes. Green beans when I said I wasn't going to pick any, and that's easily a meal over there. Another good harvest. Thank you for joining me for another garden tour, and I call this a small garden harvest. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing in the garden, consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, and I do hope I see you back here again real soon. Bye.